For the better part of a century, there was a saying in the aviation industry that was treated not just as a slogan, but as religious scripture. If it's not Boeing, I'm not going. It was a declaration of absolute, unwavering trust in American engineering. When you stepped onto a 747, you weren't just stepping onto a commercial airliner. You were stepping into a fortress of safety. It was a machine built by engineers who viewed their work as a sacred duty, men and women who valued precision over profit. But somewhere along the way, the fortress began to rot from the inside out. That trust has been shattered. It has been replaced by the terrifying image of passengers sending goodbye texts to their families as doors blow off at 16,000 feet. It has been replaced by the faces of whistleblowers who tried to warn the world, only to end up dead in hotel parking lots with self-inflicted gunshot wounds just days before they were set to testify. The Boeing we knew, the titan of industry, the arsenal of democracy, is dead. What remains is a hollowed-out shell, piloted by Wall Street vultures who traded human lives for stock buybacks. This isn't just a story about bad manufacturing or loose bolts. This is a story about the systematic murder of a corporate soul. It is about how the greatest engineering firm in human history was hijacked. It was hijacked by a cult of financial extremists who believed that Excel spreadsheets were more important than physics. Today, we are going to open the black box. We are going to look at the blood on the balance sheet and ask the question that no one in the boardroom wants to answer. How many more people have to die before the stock price drops? To understand the magnitude of this collapse, we have to go back to a time before the rot set in. We have to go back to Seattle in the mid-20th century. Boeing was run by men who had dirt under their fingernails and jet fuel in their veins. These weren't MBA graduates in $1,000 suits. They were aerodynamicists. In the old Boeing, the headquarters wasn't in a skyscraper in Chicago hundreds of miles away. It was right there, next to the noise and the heat, overlooking the assembly line. The culture was arrogant, yes, but it was an earned arrogance. They were the ones who built the B-52 bomber that defined the Cold War. They built the 707 that shrank the world. They bet the entire company on the 747, a plane so massive that critics said it would never get off the ground. But it did, and for 50 years, safety was the currency. If an engineer said a part wasn't ready, the line stopped. Period. No questions asked. But then, the enemy arrived. The enemy wasn't a competitor like Airbus. The enemy wasn't a foreign government. The enemy came from within. In 1997, Boeing acquired a company called McDonnell Douglas. On paper, it looked like a merger of equals. In reality, it was a hostile takeover disguised as a marriage. McDonnell Douglas was failing. Their products were inferior, but their executives were masters of financial manipulation. The CEO of McDonnell Douglas, Harry Stonecipher, became the key figure. His philosophy was brutal. Stop acting like a family and start acting like a business. He openly mocked the engineers, calling them arrogant and costly. He moved the headquarters to Chicago, physically separating the decision-makers from the product. This was the first fatal wound. When the suits stopped seeing the planes, they stopped seeing the people inside them. The shift was subtle at first, but relentless. Safety meetings were replaced by stock price briefings. Veteran engineers were offered early retirement packages to make way for cheaper, inexperienced labor. The mantra changed from build it right to build it fast. the legacy of the 747 was replaced by a new obsession: Wall Street approval. And Wall Street loved it. The stock price soared. The executives got rich. But down on the factory floor, the workers began to notice a terrifying change. Tools were left inside fuselages. Metal shavings were found near wiring bundles, a recipe for catastrophic electrical fires. When workers reported these issues, they were told to shut up and keep moving. The Quality Assurance Department was gutted. Inspectors were given quotas on how many defects they could find. If you found too many, you were the problem. You were slowing down the line. You were hurting the stock price. This culture of silence reached its absolute peak with the 737 MAX. In 2011, Boeing was in a panic. Airbus had released the A320neo, a more fuel-efficient plane that was stealing Boeing's customers. American Airlines called Boeing with an ultimatum. If you don't have a new engine ready, we are going to Airbus. Boeing had to act fast. Instead of designing a new plane, which would take years, they created a Frankenstein monster. They took the 737 airframe from the 1960s and slapped massive new engines onto it. These engines were too big to fit under the low wings, so the engineers pushed them forward and up. It looked ridiculous. It altered the center of gravity. Under full thrust, these massive engines acted like a lever, pushing the nose of the plane up. If the nose goes too high, the plane stalls and falls. To fix this, they didn't redesign the plane. They wrote a few lines of code. They created MCAS, software designed to push the nose down automatically. It sounds like a safety feature, but here is the crime. They didn't tell the pilots. They didn't include it in the manuals. They didn't require simulator training. Why? Because simulator training costs millions. Boeing had promised Southwest Airlines a rebate of $1 million per plane if training was required. That clause would have bankrupted the program. So, they needed a lie. They hid MCAS. They relied on a single angle of attack sensor to trigger it. In aviation, redundancy is important. But MKS relied on one thing. October 29th, 2018. Lion Air Flight 610. The sensor fails. The MKS system activates. The pilots fight the controls, pulling back with all their strength. But the computer is stronger. It pushes the nose down. For 11 minutes, they wrestle with a ghost. They check their manuals. There is no mention of MCAS. They dive into the Java Sea at 450 miles per hour. 189 people dead, vaporized on impact. Boeing did not ground the fleet. They blamed the pilots. They called it a foreign pilot issue. They calculated that the risk was statistically acceptable. 5 months later, Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302. Same plane, same software, same sensor failure, same result. 157 more people dead. 346 lives extinguished because Boeing wanted to save money on simulator training. The investigation revealed a corporation that was morally bankrupt. Employees described a culture of fear. One internal message read, "This airplane is designed by clowns, who in turn are supervised by monkeys." Boeing paid a $2.5 billion settlement, but the actual fine was only $243 million, less than the cost of 2 planes. It was a parking ticket. But the story gets darker. When whistleblowers started to come forward, strange things happened. John Barnett, a veteran quality manager, fought them for 7 years. He was days away from finishing his deposition. He told his family, "I'm not gonna kill myself." March 9th, 2024. Barnett is found dead in his truck. A silver pistol in his hand. Police ruled it suicide. Then Joshua Dean, a healthy 45-year-old whistleblower, suddenly died of a mysterious infection. 2 dead whistleblowers in 2 months. The message was clear: silence is survival. And so, the factory lines kept moving. In January 2024, a door plug on an Alaska Airlines flight blew out in midair. It was a brand new plane. The bolts were missing. They had never been installed. The records of who worked on that door deleted. Overwritten, the NTSB was stunned. The rot at Boeing is not an accident. It is a feature of modern financial capitalism. From 2013 to 2019, Boeing spent $43 billion on stock buybacks. They could have designed a new plane 3 times over. Instead, they enriched the shareholders. Dennis Muilenburg walked away with $62 million. $62 million for killing 346 people. But gravity always wins. If you build a bad plane, it will crash. If you treat engineers like trash, quality suffers. Boeing is losing billions. Astronauts are stuck in space because the Starliner capsule is too dangerous to bring them home. It is the ultimate symbol of the fall. The tragedy of Boeing is the tragedy of America. It is the story of how we stopped making things and started manipulating money. We stopped valuing the builders and started worshipping the owners. This wasn't an accident. This was a choice. Every missed bolt, every line of bad code. It was all a choice made in a boardroom to squeeze 1 more cent of profit out of a dying machine. They calculated the cost of lawsuits versus the cost of safety. They bet your life on a stock ticker. And for a while, they won. But the bill has finally come due. The next time you step onto a plane, look at the logo. If it says Boeing, remember the cost. Remember the 346 lives. Remember John Barnett. Remember that the bolt holding your seat together was paid for by the lowest bidder. The fortress is gone. We are all just passengers on a suicide mission now.